Coach, does Darnold resemble anyone you've faced? Caliber of talent?
You know, he's probably a combination of some guys. Yeah. He's got some McSorley in him. You know, he's got some Baker Mayfield, but he's his own quarterback. He's exceptional. There's a reason that he's being considered where he is in the NFL and all that stuff. Really highly productive, smart quarterback. You can see it.
Deserving of all the hype, I guess.
Absolutely.
The rotation up front has been so successful for you guys on the D-line. Do you ever think we're not getting Nick Bosa enough snaps?
Yes, but you know what? Larry does such a good job of moving those guys around, and it's not only number of snaps, it's when guys play and who plays with each other. He's, you know, it's one of the blessings of having a veteran D-line coach who's, you know, the best at what he does, I believe. And he's done not only a great job coaching them, but recruiting, getting some great talent. And I think when they all play, they all practice better because they know they're getting in that game in certain situations. And it's been good to watch. And with some of these recruits we've just gotten letters from, that'll continue.
I know you weren't at Ohio State when Joey was at Ohio State Bosa, but Nick, the way he's playing, is it fair to say he's playing on that same level? As you talk to Urban, as you just, I mean, the way Joey played at Ohio State, is Nick playing on that same level?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, just talking to those guys, and I watched Joey play. You know, I didn't study him, but I watched him. You know, Nick's got the benefit of being Joey's little brother too. I mean, Joey, I'm sure they were raised to be defensive ends, right? And when Joey did it in college, now Nick gained from his experiences. But you talk about a football family, it's look and see if we can find some more of those guys.
Greg, obviously you want to get home on pass rush no matter who you play, no matter who the quarterback is, etc. Just because of how punishing it is when he's free in the pocket, Darnold, and make a throw downfield. Is it even? It's always important, but is it even more important because you know that there's a real high percentage he's going to complete a ball downfield if you don't get home?
Without a doubt. But the thing that makes it even more tricky is he's very mobile. So it has to be an organized rush plan. It can't just be, you know, go get him, because he has a great feel for the rush, and he's been able to elude the rush, and then he scrambles and he extends the play. He scrambles with his eyes down the field, and he looks to extend the play, and he's made some big plays on the move. So we really have to have an organized plan every time we rush the passer.
Chris said depth chart last year. You think USC probably the best team offensively that you guys have faced this year. What challenges did they bring to you that you haven't seen yet?
Well, I think their skill as a group is probably the best we've faced. And when I say skill, you know, wide receivers, running backs, and then certainly the quarterback, the guy who dishes the ball to him. So that's going to be a huge challenge. And, you know, they're a very athletic offensive line. So they're going to be able to match our athleticism, and that's going to be a challenge.
When you're a defensive coordinator, people say a game might be a shootout. Does that drive you nuts, or do you care if you win a game 42-39?
Well, number one is winning, right? So, you know, and I've been a head coach long enough that you realize, period, number one is winning. But, yeah, we take great pride in what we do defensively, and we don't want to allow points scored. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's a team sport, and we got to find a way to win the game. So our part is to stop them from scoring. That's our job.
You have another test coming up with a guy like Sam Darnold, but what has your takeaway been from the progression or development of the pass defense from game one to now?
You know, I think game one was probably a little bit of an unfair. You know, they had a great plan, and they played lights out. That quarterback played lights out. That seems like forever ago, right? But, you know, I don't think we were as challenged as we looked that night, but we did make progress for sure. We had a secondary that it's well documented. We've lost 6 guys early to the draft in the last 2 years. That's our job, to make sure that we have people to step right in. I think we did have those people, and they progressed as the seasons moved on. So, but now we have a great challenge. So good thing we've progressed, because, like I said, I think we're playing the best skill that we've faced all year as a unit.
Greg, you guys, we talk about the Rushman package all the time, and we know how many great defensive linemen you have. Even when you have individual talented guys like that, the idea of being able to give an offensive line and a quarterback different looks and line them up in different ways, and maybe I know you guys have had Sam and Jalen standing up and 3 other down linemen sometimes. What does that do when you have good players and then maybe they don't know how you're going to line up with those guys?
It's always a delicate balance, right? Because you want to present different looks, but you don't want to slow your own guys down. And when you have great players, like I think we do, you got to be careful. You know, you get too cute, is what I say. You know, be careful you don't get too cute with our coaching, and we don't let our guys go do what they do. But every week we've presented, you know, what we try to do is present different looks to the offensive line and to the quarterback, because that's who's involved, and the running back if he's involved in protection. And you try to give different looks, whether it be a 3 down, a 4 down, covering different people, having linebackers up in the gaps, having linebackers off the edge, defensive backs coming, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, we realize that we're blessed to have those defensive linemen that we have, and we got to let them go.
Greg, obviously it's been several weeks since you were possibly looking at a head coaching opportunity. Can you talk about what is the weeks since it have been? Obviously, you've had to go back to work, help coach a football team. They won a conference championship through it. But how you navigated that, maybe the frustration that that situation brought on, I'm sure it wasn't pleasant, and how you're dealing with it now.
You know what? I'm going to speak about that whole thing at some point when it's appropriate. Right now, I don't think it is. I think this is all about this season and the Cotton Bowl and us closing out this season the right way. There'll be a time that it's appropriate for me to speak on that, and then I will.
Is it safe to say there are some legal reasons you don't want to talk about it?
You know what? Again, I'm just gonna refrain from speaking about it. Period. I want all the focus to be on this football game.
Kind of jumping back to the football game, what has intrigued you the most about facing a quarterback like Sam Darnold, who's touted to be one of maybe the top pick in the draft?
Well, it's fun. You know, there's been many plane rides during recruiting that I'll have him on, and I'll be watching him on my iPad, and then late at night when I get back, and it's fun to watch him perform because he's such a good player. But then the reality comes, oh, we got to stop him, and then it's not a lot of fun. He's really good. I mean, you could see why he's mentioned the way he is in NFL circles. The thing that makes it extraordinarily challenging is the fact that he has really good skill around him. And I mean, you would expect nothing less from USC. That's the kind of people that they traditionally play with. But whether it's the running backs, the wide receivers, or the tight ends, I mean, he's got skill all over the place to deliver the ball. And he's an accurate, poised passer who's very mobile in the pocket. So he presents all the problems that a quarterback can. We just need to go out and my thing that we've been talking about with our defense is we have to do our job. And if we do our job and he whoops us, then he whoops us. You know, that's life in the big city. That's when you're playing against other tradition-rich programs that are their conference champion. But let's not make mistakes where he doesn't even have to do anything great to beat you. He just that's going to be the key, that we do our job.
Focusing on him, they got a pretty good running back in their backfield. What it really has pumped up the paper about him for you guys? And how are you? Is there anything going into the game plan to stop him?
Well, yeah, there's a lot in the game plan to try to stop him. I don't know if it's going to work, but he's really good. I mean, he's really good. I was mentioning earlier that he has a gift right before contact, and I've seen only a few running backs in my career that can do this. Right before contact, he has a special way of, whether it's bearing down on the opposite leg or whatever you want to call it, where he runs through physically, runs through the tackle. He lifts that leg just a little bit higher, a little bit stronger, and I think that's unique. You don't see that. Most running backs just continue to run. He actually can sense when that contact's coming, and he meets contact with contact. And then, you know, that coupled with his, you know, he's probably the fastest kid, or I don't know. I don't have a clock on all the running backs we've played, but he's incredibly fast. And if you make a mistake, I always look at running backs. How do you know they're fast? When they break free, they don't worry about looking back to see if anybody's catching them. Those fast guys, they know. They run a straight line right to the end zone. And I've seen them do it too many times where I sit there and say, well, we better not allow them. You know, if we misfit a run, we're in trouble. So we got to fit the runs properly, and then we got to tackle a very physical back. And then his backup is a really good running back. I mean, most teams he's a starter. So, you know, if he gets tired, they bring the backup in. That's going to be a challenge as well.
You know, focusing on some of your downtime that you've had here, who are some of the players that, you know, some younger players that have really stepped up here in bowl prep and that we might see some more reps in this bowl game?
Well, I don't necessarily know if we're going to see more reps, you know, but there are some guys, I think, defensively that have really just continued their progression is probably the way to say it. You know, you get an extra 14, 15 practices getting ready for the bowl game. So, you know, in the back end, Isaiah Pryor and Jeff Okudah, I think, have just continued their trajectory. At linebacker, Brandon Browning has been special. I mean, he's really taken a step in this preparation. Chase Young has done really good things all along, but these are true freshmen we're talking about. Pete Warner has done a nice job. So it's encouraging because you see these guys getting better and you know they are the future. So it's good to see.
When you look at Darnold on video, I'm not trying to get you to forecast whether he's going to leave or not, but does he touch, you know, you were once in the NFL, does he touch all the buttons of what you would be looking for in a quarterback? Give me from that perspective.
Well, I can only comment on what I see on tape, and that is important. But as far when you're talking about a quarterback, you know, what's in here and what's in here to me are equally as important. And everybody that I know in the football world says that he's got that at a high level as well, which, yeah, then you're talking about a guy that has all the things that an NFL quarterback needs to be successful. And I can only judge off what I've watched on tape. He is successful. And it's over a period of several games.
You know, I keep getting questions that people want to know, is Denzel Ward going to play, whatever. I mean, you expect all of your guys to answer the bell correct?
Yeah, our guys have all practiced. We've been fortunate. We've stayed healthy, and our guys have all practiced and expect them.
Yeah.
Coach JT, being from the state of Texas, he's been very proud this week about talking about Texas. And how do you guys give him a hard time up there in Columbus about being a Texas kid?
Well, we've got several Texas guys, right? J.K. Dobbins, Baron Browning, Jeff Okudah, one of our GAs, Randall. And, man, when you're from Texas, you are proud of Texas. Let me tell you, they walk around beating their chest. So it's been fun banter back and forth, no doubt. Yeah.
Coach, on that note, what's your favorite country, Texas country song?
I'm not a good one to ask about that. I'm a guy from New Jersey, so Texas country. Although I'll tell you what, I listened to the band that played last night, and they were very good, and I hear there's a really good band tonight. So it's not that I don't like country, I just haven't been exposed to it much.
Do you have any exes here in Texas?
No, that I don't.
The Texas kids from Ohio State, what do you think makes Ohio State so appealing to come up there from Texas?
Well, I just think Ohio State is one of the, 4 or 5 elite programs in the country. 2 of them are playing in this game, right? When you talk about SC and Ohio State. So, and I just don't, I think Texas is such good football. I mean, I've recruited down here every place I've been, and always been so impressed with the coaching and the seriousness with which football is taken down here. So I think we're that kind of program, and kids that grew up in that kind of setting want to go play at the best. And, you know, I consider us one of those.
Has that kind of helped you with recruiting here? I mean, you're kind of in Texas, you know, right at the time that they're having their state championships and everything right down the road. Has that kind of helped you to see the smile there?
Well, we're not. The unfortunate thing is we're not allowed to go to those games. You know, the calendar didn't exactly mesh up, but you know, we're fortunate to have really good players from the state of Texas in our program, and hopefully that'll continue.
Speaking of obviously playing the Cotton Bowl, you guys have been practicing for the last month, but then with the early signing period kind of being at the same time, how did that kind of change your guys' approach to recruiting, as well as, like, were you guys able to prepare for the game as well as what you maybe felt?
Well, you know, certainly there's only 24 hours in a day, right? And we were not going to allow recruiting to suffer, nor were we going to allow preparation for this game to suffer. So what it meant is you had to really be as efficient as you've ever been in your preparation in both areas, and then you have to sleep a little less. And to be honest, it's the hardest bowl prep / recruiting that I remember in my 30 years. And you know, Urban and I were talking. He said the same thing. I mean, it was a group of guys that went incredibly hard, and you know, are going on adrenaline right now. And when this game's over, I'm sure everybody's going to need to take a little nap.
And not to touch on your coaching But how did you find it, the coaching carousel, speeding up the recruiting process, and how did it really impact?
Yeah, I didn't pay. I'm probably not good to ask about that because I didn't really pay enough attention to it. I do know this. You saw a lot of tired college football coaches on the road because if your team was in a bowl, you're doing what we're doing. You're doing home visits, you're doing school visits, you're flying around and you're watching video and you're trying to get ready. So when you do get back with your staff, you can be ready to put together a game plan. And, it's a lot of stuff to be doing at once.
Is this sustainable long-term, though? Like, if this is the new normal with the early signing period, does it make sense for the signing period to be occurring in the middle of bullpen?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody does. I think people are going to find out over time if it really works or not. I know that we have the majority of not the majority, almost the entire class signed.
Right.
So January, I guess, we'll be recruiting younger guys, and doing our due diligence that way. And I think everybody's learning as you go through something for the first cycle. Spring is going to be different, right? There's going to be official visits. You're going to be able to, as long as I know my rules, you're going to be able to visit young, rising seniors in schools. I mean, that all is going to play out. And I think what'll happen is that whenever there's legislative change, then you go through a little bit of a fine-tuning stage, and we're probably in that now, right? We'll go through a cycle, figure out, unless something grossly doesn't work, then they'll change it faster. But at the end of a cycle, I'm sure there'll be tweaks. We'll try to get what's best for the game of football. And, what's best for the game of football to me is always what's best for the young people. It doesn't have anything to do with the coaches or the players, the coaches of the university. It has to do with the players. And we need to figure out what's best for young people, and I'm not sure if this is best. We'll figure that out.
With that said, even Urban said that he wants to do what's best for the players. It's all about them. But at the same time, this kind of forces them to make a decision earlier, even if it is only 2 or 3 months. There's also the pressure of, do you want them signed now versus February? How does that impact their commitment and stuff? Do you feel that it has made a positive impact on college football?
I don't know yet. That's what I don't know if you can judge that yet. Some of when this was all being talked about, some of the thought was to have a signing day before the season started. Now how would that have drastically changed things? All those scenarios, I think, until you go through them, you really don't know. Number one, there's things that nobody thought about, right? No fault of anybody. There's just so many little things that can come up. And then you don't know how it's going to have an effect in real time. So I think we're figuring that out all as we go.
What do you think is one change that could really help the recruiting process? If you can make one change in the recruiting process.
I'm a little probably out there, but I think if you offer a kid, he can accept it right then, that'll change the recruiting process. I mean, how do you offer 400 people? How do some teams offer 400 kids when you have 25 scholarships to give? And how do kids, but if it's binding, right? You offer him, he takes it, it's done. Now that doesn't play into the traditional signing date and all those things. I don't know if that's best though, but that's what will change things the most. There wouldn't be a lot of the shenanigans that go on now.
I mean, do you kind of feel like these signing days are pretty much just to hype up things in the offseason and to drum up media press and stuff like that?
No, I don't think that. I do think that the people that are governing the game try to do what they believe is best within the framework of what we have, but there's a long, long history in college recruiting, and I don't know if there's ever a perfect way to do it, but I do think whenever you, as a collective body, encourage young people to do things that are less than straightforward, it's not a good thing. I mean, you're not teaching the right lessons.
The committable versus non-committable offers, the conversations that come with that. How do you approach a kid? Go to a kid's house to a game and say, hey, you have an offer, but we're not going to say that you can commit at this moment. What is that conversation like versus a kid who you can walk into their house and say, you can commit right now?
I think just what you said. I mean, now the problem is people aren't honest with that. I think what Urban does a very good job in I think it's what our program is about, is it's straight down the middle. We're going to tell you exactly where we stand and where you stand with us. But that's not all over the place, I can promise you that. And that's one of the things that I don't think is a positive in college football recruiting.
Coach, I'm just doing a story on JT in Texas, and so I'll just ask this question. Is there, since you've recruited Texas, is there one Texas trait that stood out about JT that when you saw him at Ohio State that really impressed you?
Ultimate competitor. I've been around some really, really elite competitors, and he's right there at the top.
Thank you.
I know you talked about the corners earlier. Kendall Sheffield's season, where he was when you got him from junior college and where he is now.
I think he's made tremendous growth. And I think he's still, the neat thing is he's a really talented kid who loves to play and loves to be coached. And he's gone from here to here, and I think he still can go from here to here and be an elite player.
And is that, I mean, we've seen that with the corners here at Ohio State. There's always another guy. Obviously, Denzel very well may go. He had a great year. But with Okuda or Arnett or Sheffield, is the next guy there? Like if Denzel Ward's not here next year, are the guys in the pipeline to keep that cornerback tradition alive here?
They better be. Yeah, they better be. And you know what? You can never, ever take that for granted just because it's been that way. We need to make sure that we are recruiting elite level corners every year, because it's as challenging a position, and the way we play it is as challenging as there is in college football. So it takes rare kind of guys that can do it. I think Kerry Combs is as good a corners coach as there is in America, but you better have those guys that can do it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how good a coach you are. Sure.